Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to another
morning.
episode of Legal Chat LinkedIn Live. Thanks for joining. Today, I am joined by two, quite frankly, amazing guests. It's a bit scary how much value you're going to get from this LinkedIn Live today, but we're going with it anyway. So first, we'll go with Helen. Helen, can you introduce yourself, please, and tell everybody who you are, what you do?
Lovely. I really enjoyed that jingle. Made me feel a little bit like I was on children's television. I'm Helen Burness. I'm founder of two legal marketing businesses, Saltmarsh Marketing and Helen Squared. I'm also one of the original creators of the global community She Breaks the Law. And I am one part of the Saltmarsh squad with Becky and Yvette. Remind me to call you Yvette and not Yvonne. And together we are creating websites for small businesses in legal. That's me.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, we must remember, because she doesn't like to be called Yvonne, so we'll try not to do that.
I'm getting used to it though. Whatever, call me whatever. Oh.
Yvette, take it away.
Okay. Yes, I am Yvette, not Yvonne. I design and build websites. I also host and maintain them and do all of that side of things. I've had my business Plume for 7 years, doing those sort of jobs for all sorts of sectors. And in the last year, I have luckily found myself in the legal sector, which has been fantastic. Where it's fairly clear, I think, to all of us, there's quite a lot of law firms out there that need a lot of help. So it seems a really good place to be.
We brainwashed you, really, didn't we?
Yeah, you kind of did.
Yeah. I love your use of the word luckily there. That was a good one. Luckily ended up here.
Luckily.
And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Betty. I'm a legal copywriter specialising in SEO, so helping law firms, legal professionals and legal tech providers rank better on Google to get more clients. So the three of us here today, aka the Saltmarsh Squad. Don't know whether you've seen any of Helen's delightful rejigs of our personalities where we became Han Solo and all sorts of different things. We're here to save the world from terrible legal websites, basically. That's what we're going to do. And we thought it'd be really fun. We thought it'd be really fun today to do an agony aunt styly LinkedIn Live, whereby we answer questions, really frequently asked questions that we get asked about websites and copy and marketing. So without further ado, shall we go with the first question? Are we ready for it? I'll read it out and then you guys can give us your insights. So this confused law firm owner says, I feel directionless with my business right now. I've lost enthusiasm and I'm not sure where we are going next year. Nobody seems to be buying legal services from us and growing the team is really hard. Is a new website the answer to all my business worries? Right, ladies, go.
So is that okay if I go with this?
Because I know it's close to your heart.
It's really close to my heart because it is a situation that tends to come up quite a lot because a new website is a bit of a shiny new toy. It's a little bit, like buying a new outfit when you feel a little bit down sometimes. And I have been in a lot of situations where really the need has been not to invest in a new website, which takes a huge amount of resource, both in terms of sort of energy, but in terms of funds. The need has really been to stand back and look at the strategic direction of the business before that. The issue is if you jump into website build for the wrong reasons, so just to give yourself a bit of a lift or just to feel a little bit better, you'll just find yourself back in the situation you were before. So I've been in many of these type of situations just to give you some popcorn moments very early on, which is I know why many of you will have tuned in. One website build and rebrand was actually in a business that was going in two very different directions. The founders both had a very different vision of where they wanted the firm to go, but they weren't talking about it with each other. So as a solution, they said, let's get a new brand and a website, which I came in to do. But obviously, along the way, along that process, it turned out that they both wanted completely different things. And then the business did separate. website can never be the new puppy in your failing marriage, in your failing business marriage. So wrong investment. Other times I've been involved in website builds and sort of relaunches, rebrands, when companies just feel a bit stale and they feel like we don't know where we're going and we feel like we're treading water and this is going to give us the lift we need. But again, it is quite cosmetic. What comes first is looking at your business strategy, looking at your business goals. And if redoing the website dovetails with those, then it's the right thing to do, is my answer.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. I think what happens too often, and I think that's another really good reason why the three of us are working together on this now, because so many people go to a web development company or a big design agency without that piece about who they are and where they're going and where they want to take their business. And the design and the build of the website just starts happening without that crucial strategy part, and without really thinking, who are our audience, what do we need to be saying, what's our key message, and all of those things. If you haven't got those in the website, you know, it is just a shiny website doing nothing, and it won't bring you any more business. I mean, one thing that made me laugh slightly, Helen, you mentioned it's not just a thing to give you a lift. I don't know if you meant a mood lift or your company lift, but yeah, doing a new website, I don't think we'll. It's a good idea, and then you'll get halfway through and think, oh god.
I mean, I have done it myself, definitely, as a small business owner. You know, last year I was like, oh, you know, I need to feel a different energy, because I think that's what websites and brands can give you, like this different energy. And then I kind of did it, but I hadn't really thought about how I was structuring my services, and so it kind of launched as a bit of a damp squid. And I was like, well, it looks a bit different, but it's not different. I haven't done the work really that's needed. Happily this year, really great web developer and designer called Yvette, and I did actually have my house sorted out before I did the website, and it's on a different level. So,
but that was a massive. Sorry, Becky, go on. You.
I was just going to agree. I was just going to say it's a beautiful website as well. But there is one piece that I just wanted to check as well. Probably, Yvette, you'll be best placed to answer this. If you do have like a brand spanking new website with a new domain, you're not going to have that domain authority, are you, to rank? So that's going to kind of put you on the back burner initially. Is that right?
It is, but I think a lot of clients I work with are on their kind of second iteration of their website. And then what we can do, you don't have to lose that domain authority, because if you're sticking with the same company name and the same domain name, you can structure the new website so that the pages match or are redirected to the new pages. So although there normally is a little bit of a wobble for a few days, that isn't affected. But yeah, you're right. If you're starting from scratch and you've got a new business name, it can take a little while to rank. But again, I will say it does depend who you go to. There's, you know, all sorts of people out there building websites. It's an unregulated or largely unregulated industry, and there's so much you can do in a website build behind the scenes with the just little things like metadata, tags, as well as good copy, the speed of the website, the platform it's built on. All of those things make a really big difference and signal to Google that you've got a great site and it needs indexing. And you can also speed up the indexing of your site. You can use a tool, Google Search Console, and you can make sure you're linked your site to that. And you can actually see whether Google has found you and indexed your pages. And if not, you can submit your pages to Google. So that's a long rambling answer, but you get the gist.
My virtual office doorbell went off in the middle of that as well. I'm so sorry. I'm now closed. That's what the doorbell was.
Yeah, Helen's like, I'm off to see who's at the door and has a parcel for me. Is it Scamp and Dude? Probably.
Cool, thank you. That's awesome. And very good tips there about your website domain authority and what you can do to improve it. So should we move on to question number 2? As a law firm founder, my website is very important to me. I would say it's almost like an extension of myself. I know what I want, but I can't really explain it. I'll know it when I see it. I want to be very bold and rebellious, but also not too different, as I don't want to put off corporate clients. Could you just keep running things past me to see what resonates in my website board, please?
Helen, this is your favourite, isn't it? So definitely.
It's a completely fictional situation that has never happened. The answer is, and I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm such a geek, really. There is a fundamental difference between how lawyers work and like to work, and indeed are trained to work, and how creatives and developers and the people involved in websites work. And what I've realized after 20 years in legal marketing is that lawyers do like to see something and then comment and pull it apart and redline it and then go backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards until you agree. That's how kind of contract negotiations work. And there is a little bit that comes into, obviously we're all trained in a certain way, and that's how we work in other aspects of, business life. So it tends to bleed into website projects in thinking that feedback is just constant and ongoing, and you can keep going. I want to change this. I want to tweak this. I want to do this. I want to change this copy. And actually, can we add this and take this away? And that's not how most agencies and how most website processes work. And actually, that's one of the reasons that me, Yvette, and Becky have come together, because we, as a small team, we can both work to a process that works for website design and development, but we can also be a little bit more agile and work in the way that lawyers are more comfortable working. But really, best practice is you should have a project, you should have set milestones with a feedback window, and you get to feedback during that time. So maybe, you will develop the project plan, you will develop the homepage structure. I'm leaping all around the place. This is just as an example. And maybe you will have a week to feed back on that for the next round of design and development. So everything is kind of done much more in sprints in a traditional digital agency. And that's how it works, because otherwise it just doesn't end. And I have been on website projects that never end because lawyers are going, oh, but I'm not quite happy. I don't know. Can we change this? Let's go back to this, actually, that I thought I'd signed off, but I've changed my mind. Your website is never sort of get out of the mindset that your website is a finished product. It's never finished. It is working towards the best you can get it and the happiest you are for it to launch and for then you to keep working on it. So there's a bit of a mindset change there. Stop thinking of it as a finished product. Do be prepared to work to a process, and don't get stuck on very cosmetic things again. And stuff like imagery, for instance, I have had a website project that literally couldn't get past the homepage, couldn't get off the blocks, because the founder had such a specific idea of the image they wanted. Could they brief me on what that image was? Not really, but they knew when they saw it what that would be. And it was literally weeks of sending images from Unsplash going a little bit like this, a little bit like this. It's like a new house, like I think Yvette, you said earlier on, there is no point investing in like an awesome sofa if actually you've got no roof and no floor. Focus on the foundational stuff first and then worry about that. But I do think it's interesting that there's this sort of clash between how digital agencies might work and how lawyers work. But that's why, as I say, we have come together to make it a little bit less painful.
Yes. Yeah. And I think with all sorts of clients, everybody suffers from wanting their website to be perfect. And I've done it myself. Helen, you've done it. I expect Becky, you've done it. You tie yourself up in knots. You do that thing where you're trying to go to sleep and you think, oh, I know this would be a really brilliant line for the front of the page. And, on and on it goes. And I think another great thing about the three of us working together is, and also that people know us a bit from LinkedIn, is that there has to be a time when you have to hand over a bit of trust to the team you're working with. And it's actually a relief, I think, to a lot of clients when they've had all of these ideas for their site, because you don't get many people who just say, oh, just do it all. Like, most people have some ideas of what they want to do, but it is a relief when you think, well, these people know what they're doing. I can, to a certain extent, hand over and be happy with the results, because you don't get anything finished by yourself. You just go round in circles, and it never gets done. So it's that case as well of, don't let perfection stand in the way, because you'll never get it. And all of us are always changing, aren't we, and reacting to different things out in the marketplace, and thinking, well, this competitor, this divorce lawyer up the road has perhaps done this, so I ought to either change my website or perhaps go on a different tack in how I present myself. So yeah, agile, I think, is the word of the day, as you mentioned earlier, Helen. I think that's what we need.
It's really important psychologically to remember you are not your website.
Oh, God, aren't you?
I see the website as an extension of myself, and I'm like, it is difficult when you are the business, but also it is the website. So don't get confused. You are a real person.
Sure, Helen? Because you seem to wear your website.
I do kind of. I am living my brand at the moment. It is becoming an issue.
I love it.
I do dress as my
There's one more thing I wanted to say, as far as I think what is great with knowing people from like Helen and other people I've worked with on their sites, who I know from LinkedIn. One really nice thing that brings is that, because of the know, like, and trust thing that I think we all speak about on LinkedIn, because it does work so well, one of the barriers to a good website project, which I think you get a lot when clients come cold to an agency, especially a big digital agency, there's not that kind of human feeling where you know each other, you can have a bit of a joke, I'm not suggesting clients will be texting at all hours of the morning to us, but I think where, for example, when we work together, we know each other, perhaps know each other's sense of humour, and it's really nice starting to work with clients now who, like I say, it's not a cold start. It's, you already know each other, the way you come across on LinkedIn, each other's style, it massively helps. So
yeah, here. And yeah, agile can be the word of the day, and I think that's probably the first word that comes to mind when you think of us three, isn't it? So it just works perfectly. Very, very agile. All right, we'll move on to question number 3. So what comes first, copy or site structure? And I know we'll probably all have some things to say about this particular question.
You can start that one, Becky.
Can I? Okay.
Copy starts, doesn't it?
Copy starts, yeah. It's one of those age-old questions, like a chicken and egg kind of question, I guess. So it's and there are definitely pros and cons for each approach, but personally, because I'm a copywriter, I believe that the copy should come first and not be left as an afterthought, because what can happen is that you end up trying to squeeze your really amazing SEO optimized client-friendly copy into a tiny little box that you've been left behind. So it doesn't really work from that point of view. So I mean, in an ideal world, as we're offering with our brand new squad, is an all-encompassing approach where it all happens at the same time and we collaborate and feedback from each other and know exactly where we're going with it. So yeah, that's my insight.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic being able to do that, because there's certain points where in a website build where you'll also have, for example, if I find a fantastic image to use on the homepage, which I think gives a really strong visual message, is then that might contradict slightly with maybe Becky what you've written and what you thought, and then we can get our heads together and think, well, somehow this image is saying one thing, and let's tweak that opening strap line so it all fits in. It's a very sort of organic approach where like collaboration just helps every part of it. And
I was one of the reasons we've collaborated on this is I've worked with agencies where you have the copywriters, the SEO writers, and then you have the people doing the development, and then someone else doing the design. And it'll be like design will go, I finished mine now. I will hand it over to develop the development team take the design, doesn't quite look like it looked when they first showed it to me. And then in another area of the agency, you've got the writers like putting together, and this is when I've worked on really quite big website projects. You've got some people working on the copy, and you've got someone project managing, and me. And even with me in the middle of it, it's difficult to bring all that together because everyone's working to their own agenda. And what you tend to find is you get the structure, but then the copy, you know, it doesn't quite fit and it doesn't hang together. And I would say, you know, to balance out both of you, I think for me as a writer, and I am a writer, I think there is a brand personality that comes out when you write, and that is really important. So I think I will always start to write a little bit, because I think the copy can sometimes inform the design. Yeah. But then I think, you know, the design is they really do work in tandem. But for me as a writer, I will always go pen to paper first. Other people who are more visual, I think I want to see the visual, and then I can imagine how the copy will fit into that. So I think it really depends whether you're a visual or a written person. So I think there's no right answer apart from like working with all of us, because we're all together.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. Shameless.
Yeah, we'll thrash it out between us.
What we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
Would you go? Are you more obviously design led, Yvette? So you would kind of.
Funnily enough, although I am more design led, I'm also very. I think when I work with a client and we've had a discovery session, and I get a real feeling for what they want to say to their audience. I then sort of go off, do something else, and then I think strap lines tend to come to me to really,
actually.
And then I think, oh, that would look good with. Are we thinking of the bath situation on your website?
I know you are. I know.
And then I will go to Unsplash, and it will or I'll see an image of similar, and it's all that tweaking, and you know, it's a really hard process to put down on paper, because it is, you know, it happens in your head, but it's a combination of both. But the words come first for me as well, I would say.
It's interesting because when you do work with bigger agencies, who are all brilliant, by the way, in what they do, but they do have to be much more process driven.
Yeah.
So kind of, you know, that's just, you know, what you get working with a bigger business. So,
but the downside of that is that the project can take absolutely ages, which again, where we can be a little bit more agile than that. God, that's getting boring now, that word, isn't
it? Should we see how many times we can say that?
Flexible.
Morning, really. I quite hate this word and always say to lawyers, don't use it.
No. I had that nimble. That's another one.
Nimble.
Nimble.
No, I'm not feeling very nimble today, but so that actually segues quite nicely into the next question that somebody has written in, which is about how to choose a website developer. So there's so many out there, obviously, as you've already said, about millions of them. How on earth do you begin to choose, other than obviously just signing up with us first of all? Is there anything, you know, clients should be looking out for specifically in the legal industry? What do you think?
One of the things they really should look out for, I think, which a lot of people, of course, in the illegal industry and in all industries, it's far too tempting to be attracted by a low price, because there are plenty of people who are learning their craft who will be charging less, and who are freelancers who, you know, may have got a year or two's experience, and it is just we're all, you know, we think, oh, that's a good price, but I think until you've got, and lots of people say as well, they're absolutely stunned how they can get 3 different quotes, and they will be miles apart, you know, from 1,000, 7,000, 20,000. It's, you know, it's a huge range. It's like, well, what's the difference? But I think one of the key things, I think, is not to go too cheap, is that as a web designer and developer, this stuff can keep me awake at night. It's a huge responsibility actually having control of somebody's website, maintaining it, making sure it's on the right host. It is, especially these days, it's their whole business really. It's their shop front to the world, and you just can't take the risk of going with some fly-by-night person who might, think, oh yeah, that's a good price, but then they'll disappear in a few months' time. You might not be able to find them when you want to make changes to your website, or the SSL certificate will run out, so your site's coming up as insecure and they don't know how to fix it. So that is just huge. Just think about that for a minute, that that responsibility. Think of who you're going to trust with the future of your business, because things can go wrong. There can be, if they don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, you can do all the Google work you want and then find that your site is still set to do not index this page, and you're never going to show up on Google. I mean, they're probably the worst end of that. You might be a lot luckier than that, but I'd just say don't go too cheap really, because of those things. And also you have to think, somebody who you're not spending a lot of money with, they're not really going to put the time and thought into your site to get what you want, and they certainly won't be doing the background stuff, which is so important for ranking on Google, all the metadata and the tags and the SEO work, which is why, well, it's a bit like the different things the three of us do. That's why they're all specialisms, because mostly you can't have one person doing it all. So yeah, that would be my main thing to look out for.
Okay.
I've seen some very sad, very low cost website builds, and it is, if you do, I think this is an investment, even for, I'm a really small business, but I will invest in my website. It is my shop front, my digital shop front. It's you've always got to think, like, we're all on LinkedIn. This is a LinkedIn Live, but LinkedIn is changing all the time. I posted about that this morning. You've always got to think, what would happen if, worst case scenario, I didn't have access to LinkedIn. I was locked out of LinkedIn. I couldn't get back into my account. LinkedIn went down. LinkedIn is taken over by Elon Musk and it changes completely, which I'm sure won't happen, but you don't know. And your website is your owned channel. And you've always got to think, how am I going to be visible to clients, my existing clients and potentially new clients, if I don't have access to social media? So investing in your website and spending enough on it to make it a quality product is so important. And I think I've seen some low cost builds that, they, within a year, you'll need to do it again. So it's worth investing more upfront, so you're not having to redo it. And it's also really important when you choose a developer or someone to work with, that you ask what their process is. You ask about hosting, you ask about long-term maintenance, or how you're going to be able to manage the site yourself after they've completed the job. Because I think a lot of people just go, there we go, done your website, I'm gone. And I have so many people that websites have been built on different CMSs, not WordPress, we work on WordPress, but have been built on different sort of, CMSs, and business owners don't know how to work within that CMS. And actually I can't, because I'm like, I haven't got a clue about a system or how to work within it. So it's important to understand what CMS developer uses, recommend an open source one that you understand, or that, someone, your VA or someone who helps you understands how to work with. You understand who's hosting it and making those changes in the long term, and that you understand their design process. Like, show me what your process is, how are we going to work together, what are the milestones, and last of all, show me websites you've done. Give me a list of the most recent websites you've worked on, and go and have a look and see if that's the quality you're looking for.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's a really great advice, because, and you need to take responsibility for a bit of it as well. I mean, I get that, we're not all website developers, and you probably don't know much about websites and how they work. So you are handing that trust over to somebody, but do your due diligence and make sure that you are following up on them, making sure that their websites that they've created are actually fast, they're responsive. When you land on it, do they have the information that you need? So just check in and make sure that they are who they say they are as well, for sure.
Definitely. And they should also be somebody you can talk with, because quite often you can get somebody, especially if they're very heavy on the development tech side, you know, they'll bamboozle you, not necessarily on purpose, it's just the way they speak. And it's no good if you can't understand, you know, if you really don't know. A lot of people don't understand about hosting and domains, and you just need to find somebody who can, or who at least you're comfortable with talking to and saying, no, tell me again, I don't understand that, because you need to be able to understand it to manage it and to manage them.
Yeah, absolutely. Which again is a lovely segue to these next questions. It's almost like we planned it, isn't it, really? This website user, I can't edit anything on my current website. It drives me crazy that every time I want to change anything, it costs me an arm and a leg and takes forever to get done. Will I be able to amend or add things to my new website with the Saltmarsh Squad? Maybe we should talk about how we work first of all, and then move on to slate other people.
Yes, well, Helen, how are you getting on with the?
I mean, it will always be a discussion up front, really, about what your resources are as a business owner. So, would never really recommend that business owners and law firm owners spend. I mean, do you know what? I always say there is rationale for getting under the skin of your own CMS, and it is important as a business owner to understand a little bit about it, to understand how it works, because I just think as business owners, maybe that's because I'm a massive control freak, I need to understand enough about stuff so if it goes wrong, I know what I need to solve. So I think there is, you know, importance as a business owner to have a good understanding of your CMS and how it works. And do you know what? If there was a really urgent update that needed doing, you couldn't get hold of anyone, could you do it? I think that's good to know. Should you be making like updates yourself? No, really. It's important, like when you are getting your website built, to work out who is going to take responsibility for updating the website going forward. You know, most of the small business I work with, if they don't have in-house marketing, they have a really WordPress savvy VA who will take care of the daily updates, sort of daily tweaks, putting up kind of blogs, so what I would term as website admin. If there is development work, it's important you know who's going to do that. That's often not going to be necessarily someone in-house, but that you agree with your web developer. What happens if I want a new section to the website developed? A lot of agencies will say, you know, you can retain a support bundle, which will help you kind of maintain and develop the site. But it is important that you have a CMS that you understand and that you can make edits in-house. Have I answered sufficiently on that?
I believe so. I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
I
mean, the system
and the people that have built your website, unless there is an ongoing agreement, they are not going to be there to like update. This person's left. This person's. Could you change that I got a, you know, blah 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 certificate on my biog? You know, that is the kind of stuff that needs to be handled in-house.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that. I put a post out a couple of weeks ago about the security on the website. I think law firms are very hot on this anyway, most of the time, but you should make sure you can, at the very least, log into your own website and that you are an admin on your site. So if said web developer should disappear at any point, you can always have control of your site and you can hand it over to another developer. That's one of those things that doesn't often happen, but it can be devastating when it does.
Yeah.
Something I've done with clients is like just little videos, Loom videos of this is how you do this is how you change this, and that's just in a centralized library, so anyone can come into the business and pick that up and know how to do basic things on the website.
Yeah, and we will provide that because I gave that to you, Helen, because although we use WordPress, we also use what's called a page builder on top of that. I'm not mentioning the name.
But
You can apply privately to find out what that is. But that does allow a drag and drop interface, so it's really easy to use if you just want to, make changes. You can swap an image around or some text around. But as Helen said, it mostly in a busy law practice, certainly it's better to be able to have somebody else to do that for you, just because if you're not doing it it's not difficult at all, but if you're not doing it regularly, you're not necessarily going to want to think, oh, I haven't done that for a couple of months, I'll just need to watch the video again to see how to do it. It'll drive you mad if you've just got somebody at your side you can turn to, like on a maintenance plan, for example, who can do that for you. Just do it. We all like to outsource these things. It helps life go more smoothly, doesn't it?
It definitely does, yes. So let's talk content for a moment. We've got a couple of questions left. We've had a question in. I've heard that my website needs fresh content to stand any chance of ranking on search engines. I don't know what to write about. And this is something that certainly I hear an awful lot. I bang on about creating blogs all the time and updating website content to make sure it accurately reflects your services and your team. But I get a lot of, well, what the hell do I write about? Like, I don't know what to say. Do I tell people that we just had a new member of staff who's going to be making the tea for us? Do we need to say that we went for an award? What do we need to say? And my answer to that is you need to be answering your clients' questions and your prospective clients' questions as well. So always, before you even think about writing any content, think, does this benefit my audience? And they probably don't care about the new things that are happening at your firm, in all honesty. The only reason they're going to care is how it affects them and does it benefit them in any way. So definitely think about what your target audience want from you. That's what I would say about that. Why am I blurring out? This is a bit weird, isn't it? What's happening?
Lots of different ways to cut your content, and there are things that are important for your company brand experience. So things like, this is someone who's joined the team, and this is a company development. That's important to give a sense of culture and what it's like to work for your company. Then there's the evidence. It's like, this is how we work with our clients. This is a recent client study or client case, client story of how we work together with a client on a certain matter, client testimonials. That's all good content. And then you've got your kind of more like, I'm going to demonstrate expertise here, and that's answering directly a question that someone might type into Google. So there's lots of ways to segment your content, and I think to repurpose it as well. I think something that works for small businesses is decide on some kind of like annual content you're going to write about, and then you'll update and because this is all thought, so it's important you get the most out of it. And then obviously when you do have that content on your website, make sure you're also using it and repurposing it for social media and getting the most out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got any thoughts on that, Yvette?
I think no, I mean all of the above. I think I haven't done this myself. I think we're all really bad at it, but video on websites is excellent because people. You're bad as well at it.
I never do video on my website. Comedy TikTok.
We've got so much to pick from, Helen. Let's put some video on your website this afternoon, shall we?
No, there we go, an action for me. But no, carry on, Yvette, because really it's a missing thing for me.
No, I think, what I've found myself is that some lawyers actually struggle to, they don't even, they sort of flinch at the idea of putting a photograph of themselves on there. But I think you've got such a huge chance to stand out as a lawyer in your sector by just putting a little bit more of you out there, a little bit more warmth. I think there's not a lot of warmth in a lot of sites I see, which is just that human connection, the way you talk, the way you're writing is, obviously Becky, you help a lot with that, in the way you write, but just so people think, oh, these people sound just what I'm looking for. and pick up the phone. They can see your face, even if it's not a video, and they think this is a human I can connect with, who's going to get me and my problems, and solve them for me. And that sounds like such a small thing, but it's not, because you are in this sea of blandness with legal websites, and it just makes a difference to me if you're scanning through which person do you want to call and connect with, and then you will get the business. You know, some things are
removing a barrier, right, and building familiarity, and that's why platforms like LinkedIn work really well.
Yeah, and let's be honest, there are some pretty diabolical legal websites out there. So if you take the steps to upgrade yours and make it more personable and relatable, then it's not that going to be hard to stand out amongst the competition. Let's be real, is it?
No.
I'm actually, both of you, I'm really surprised I haven't done this yet, but I have to send you the website of the conveyancers who worked on my house move for the other people who moved into our house. It is absolutely brilliant. It's like one page. And yeah, I've got to send it to you and maybe circulate it to anybody on this call afterwards.
I want to know what not to do.
Yeah, I'm going to send it. I wish I'd got it up to be able to put it like on the chat or something.
But that's another great example, though, of, you know, again, this anti-perfectionism we were talking about earlier. Just, you know, you only need to be a little bit better than all that crud out there, and you can stand out. I mean, obviously, we'll make you look lots and lots better, but you know, it's just that taking action and being first in your marketplace with something a bit different, a bit fresher, a bit more interesting. You know, it's easier than you think, I guess, to look good.
Don't merge into a sea of sameness, right? We're too good at doing that in
legal. Sea of sameness. I saw that yesterday, and that was a very, very good quote. I like that a lot. We've had a question which is relatable to content, actually, from Zara. So she's asked us, what happens if you want to try a different way of presenting your information, e.g. flowcharts and diagrams? Is that possible with blogs, or where are you posting an article? So what are we thinking about a different way of presenting information on your website? I'm assuming, Zara, maybe if you could clarify, that would be good. She has also said yes, please to something just now. So I don't know what that's for, but, you know.
Oh God, what did we offer?
That's nice. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Oh, that's really interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, I think I always say like visual content and repurposing written content into visual formats works so well on LinkedIn. So, you know, we have at Saltmarsh and Helen Squared a repurposing process, which is like if you do a long form blog, then you can repurpose that into like any number of visual contents, infographics, carousels. You know, you can re-message it. You can use that content like 9 times. So I always think of visual repurposing as, you know, on LinkedIn. I guess this is one for you and Yvette, Becky. Like, if you put visuals in written blogs, does it have an impact on search at all? I mean, I think anything that aids, anything that supports written language with visual kind of, you know, is good from a content point of view, because it appeals to both visual consumers and, you know, people who prefer to read. But does it have an impact at all on search or searchability or indexability of a piece?
It can do. So if you're targeting a featured snippet, which is technically called position 0 on Google, so it's above the first position, basically, it comes up in a little featured box. So to get a featured snippet, it basically means that Google is saying that you are basically #1 resource on this particular topic. You've answered this question in the best way, and that's why we're going to reward you by giving you a featured snippet. So you can get a featured snippet with an article, you can get it with list as well, so that's always good, and you can also get it for images. So if you have got a really well-informed, well-researched article that answers everything that the user would want to know about that specific topic, and you've got an infographic in there as well that might provide a different take on it, then you've got more of a chance of ranking for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think Google likes to see a variety of content. I mean, it likes to see video, it likes to see infographics, but again, they just need to be tagged, because if they're not tagged properly, Google
Yeah.
can't even read them as images. You have to tell Google behind the scenes what that image is about. Have it
Yeah.
picked up.
So yeah, get your accessibility
So-
right, get your alt tags done.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of information, more information on Zara. I now understand what she wants. To the yes, please.
Not what we
So,
were talking about at all.
No, well, I believe, because I know what field of law she works in, and I believe she's asking for the link, Helen, that you mentioned, of the diabolical site. So perhaps we all not to name and shame on here, but we can definitely send that to you in a DM. Don't worry, we
We
will.
all want to see it now.
In the spirit of, like, you know, because they've just basically gone out there going, we don't believe in websites, but apparently we have to have something. Oh yeah, so this is our, like, honestly, I think they were probably gearing up to retirement, so they might not even be there anymore, but I will send it. And actually, it's so bad, it's kind of brilliant, you know.
Really? Wow. Wow. I can't wait to see it. I'm very excited.
Did it have a gavel on it?
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it probably did. Yeah.
It'll have a gavel.
I've got another question. How do you tag? Do you mean alt text? Is that what you mean? I'll just get her to clarify that as well.
Yes.
And that's something on the back end of your website that you need to do. It's not for everybody, is it, about working on the metadata and meta descriptions?
No, it's not. No. But once it is one of the more painful parts of it that you have to nip through afterwards. So you've done all your lovely content, and then I tend to do that afterwards, just because, especially like working with like yourself, Becky and Helen, I don't do it at the beginning because you know we're changing things all of the time. So prior to launch of your site, I'll go through and add all of those. There's tools you can use to help, so they'll actually point out if you've got metadata missing or you haven't got your H1 tags on the page, on each page, which is what Google really looks for. So yeah, it's the boring bit. Leave it to us. Really.
Yeah, it is worth mentioning that it's a good thing to outsource, because it's not a case of just necessarily describing what's in the picture, for instance, although that is important for accessibility in case it's being read out on an e-reader or someone that's visually impaired. It's also really important to get your keywords in there as well. So number one, you need to know what your keywords are, that are best for your industry and that will hit your target audience, and including them naturally as well. So it is definitely something that if you're not confident on doing, or even know how to get into that bit of your website to do, that you outsource that bit for sure. So, yeah.
On keywords, it's worth noting that is a really important part, ideally, that you should do as almost separate stage before the website build. And I think, Becky, you do that, don't you? So you can look at by keywords, it's also key phrases that people are typing into Google to find your sort of content. That's the really crucial part. And you can also do very clever things these days and find out what your competitors, which keywords they're ranking for. If one of your competitors is doing extremely well, you can actually see which key phrases they're using, and maybe borrow a couple if they're particularly good. You know, it's little tricks. So worth knowing.
That is definitely one of the first things that I do before I get started. Is check what keyword. If it's an existing site that you're revamping, check what you're currently ranking for. Check what your competitors are doing. Check what you should be ranking for. And also brainstorming other ideas as well, because there may well be a type of service that you offer and you call it something, but your clients actually refer to it as something completely different. So you need to make sure that you're speaking their language and use that throughout your content as well. So that is one of the most important things in terms of just getting found, really. There's no point in going to all that effort and having a lovely new site if nobody can find it.
No.
And I think that all hangs back to kind of go back to where we started, on having the right strategy, vision, a clarity on your business goals, to be able to say to Becky, this is actually our key services, key solutions, key sectors we're driving. You know, this is how we're, where we want the visibility, going forward, because that's what will inform that first bit of work.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
So we probably should be wrapping up about now, because we've been yammering on for 50 minutes, and I'm sure everyone does love the sound of our voices, but I'm sure we've got other things to do today. So if anyone's got any last minute questions, feel free. Now is the time. Get them into the chat, please. Other than that, we will probably wrap up with a little tiny bit more shameless promotion of the Saltmarsh Squad. So do one of you want to, leave us a final reminder of what people should do next?
So just follow, follow us on LinkedIn. Every week I'm doing some kind of bizarre AI face swap with a famous trio of people on a film poster. Basically, just follow us for that.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
That's what they will come for.
We really is what people come for. If you're thinking about redoing your website, or you want some questions answered, do ask any one of us, because we all genuinely really do care, maybe a little bit too much, about businesses in legal, especially small businesses, being able to get a really good quality website that will stand them the test of time. So, with no agenda, like, you don't have to use us. It could just be looking for a recommendation for a really good big agency to work with, then do come to us, because we want to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure you've gathered that we are hilarious as well, so it's definitely worth having a chat with us for sure. Good stance, really.
Really good. The only other thing I would like to add is I think we always talk about it from, how your website going to get you more business? How is it going to appeal to your customers out there? But, if you're on the fence, I would just say one of the greatest things about having your website sorted is that ducks in a row feeling, that all those thoughts you've had for the last year going around your head, you've actually got it done. And now that gives you so much confidence then to go out and sell your services or talk to people on LinkedIn and refer them back to your site. So it's not just about, I think that's 50% of it, it's just how it makes you feel that you've got everything sorted at last. So
it's amazing. The feeling of being able to go to someone, have a look at my website, it's all here. It's a great feeling.
Yeah. All the packages, everything.
Website.
For sure. So we've had a couple of lovely thank yous. Thank you for the info. Thank you both for coming on today. It's been an absolute delight, as always. So anything you need, guys, reach out. We're here to help. All right, have a good day. See ya.
Bye-bye. See ya. Bye.